All right. Hello, everyone. So excited to welcome you all to our sustainability webinar. We have about 139, 140 people who registered. So clearly we have a powerful and important topic that I think we all take in personally as well as professionally. So just to introduce myself, my name is Giselle Robert, and I'm with Site Canada, and I'm the president for 2023. So I thought I would start out with just a little bit of an overview of what Site Canada has been doing this year so far. So we've hit the ground running with Site Exchange, which we launched in Banff. It was the first time we've ever had this program. It was a one-to-one. So we had, I guess it was about 50 people, and it was a huge success. We're already looking at doing it next year, and we have destinations that have approached us to host it in their city. So very excited about that. Also, I wanted to say that for our AGM this year, we are having it in person for the first time since 2020. So we're really excited about having it at Second City in their new venue. So we want people to show up by 5 p.m. We have a lot planned. We have the event launches with an icebreaker improv, and then we'll do our AGM business. And then from there, we'll do some networking. So we'll have food and drink, and then we'll be checking out Second City's new show. So I hope everyone can join us for that. We're very excited about having it. And I also wanted to do a call out to volunteers. I think we have so many people who have volunteered for Site over the years, and we appreciate that so much. And we do hope that people will continue to join us for volunteer and check in with one of your board members and let us know if you have some time to help out. So I have to say one of our most passionate committees is a sustainability committee. And with Liz Akey leading that, she's the ambassador of sustainability. And today we have the privilege of two amazing speakers who we are co-partnering with Site Scotland. So I'm going to pass it over to Liz now, who will introduce our speakers and this amazing topic. So thanks again for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Giselle. Thanks for the lovely welcoming. And thank you for your leadership and your dedication to Site Canada. We so truly appreciate it. So everybody, again, I'm Liz Akey, and I'm with EMA Marketing, and I'm actually based at Oakville, the traditional territory of the Mississaugas, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, and Haudenosaunee. So a warm welcome to all, and thank you for joining this very important webinar to learn and grow your sustainability knowledge within our industry of incentive travel. We all know how overwhelming this topic can be, but keep top of mind, every action matters, every choice matters. We all need to protect our precious planet. We have such a great group here today. I wanted to do a shout out to tell you we've got professional incentive planners and suppliers from all over the world. And shout out, of course, we have a great turn from Site Canada. We've got Site Scotland, Spain, we have New England, we have Central America, we have Mexico, and more. So thank you all for joining us. We have an excellent session lined up for next hour with some industry leaders that are really going to provide some great resources and insights. This will be recorded as well, and we urge you to ask questions in the Q&A box. We will take questions at the end of the session, and again, it will be recorded as well. So how did this come to fruition, this webinar? So I've, as Giselle mentioned, I've had the privilege to be the Site Sustainability Ambassador for Canada, and we've grown a very passionate community, and we'll share a couple of great examples what we've accomplished. But I also sit on the global committee, which is chaired by Mary Pepe and Katrin Noman, and you'll hear from Mary about the goals and objectives this coming year. We have a lot of exciting things coming. And but on that committee, I've met some wonderful, passionate leaders, and one being Olga Walker, who is co-chairing with me today. She's the ambassador, sustainability ambassador for Scotland. So she will be introducing our speaker, Rory, shortly as well. speaking about sustainability. And so we thought it would be just a great opportunity to speak to these leaders and hear about what is happening within these countries, and provide some great leadership and an inspiration, because they really are, they have such great knowledge. And we're also going to hear from the president, Sarah Jane Anderson of Sight Scotland as well. So you're going to meet a lot of great influential leaders here today. Our hope with this webinar is that you'll leave with helpful resources to apply to future incentive programs at your respective companies. We want to grow this sustainability community, and this is a pilot project today, and we hope to expand with other chapters and gain knowledge and great resources so we can really make a difference, work together, grow this global community. And again, please ask questions in the Q&A box, and we'll take those at the end. So I wanted to do a shout out to Gabby Spanton, who is our past Sight Canada president. She spearheaded a very important initiative with the sustainability when this was launched. She created, this is a roadmap. So part of the sustainability certification entails a roadmap, a great direction with objectives that align with SDGs. There's quite a bit involved, and that's where the Global Committee has given direction, and Mary will speak further to that. But Gabby did an excellent job in leading this, and then for us to achieve our certification. There's a number of elements, from reducing waste and education through our events. Through COVID, actually, they did quite a interesting event, obviously at home. We were all at home, but it was a Seeds of Hope, and we sent out seeds to our respective members, and it was lovely because we saw everybody share stories about them planting their seeds and just showing growth and hope and renewal at a very dark time. So that was one of really success stories that we had through the COVID period. And then I'll show you the certificate as well that we received proudly in 21. Thank you there. So that, again, we were proud to receive. So right now we actually have 19 chapters that have received the certification for Sight. We have 27 chapters in total. And, but now I'd like to speak actually to a couple of achievements that our Canadian committee accomplished this past year. And there we go. So this is some of our incredible, passionate leaders with our Canadian committee. And so part of the certification, again, is including a Earth Day event. And so we were brainstorming what to do for this. And so we decided to do a cookbook. So it actually turned out to be a seven-month project. And at the passion of everybody compiling great plant-based recipes. And reason we obviously compiled this was to really showcase how we can have impacts with our food choices, with our programs, and try and limit some of the the meat intake and such. And then we identified the goals here, the SDG goals, which are outlined here. And so it's a 37-page recipe book that was absolutely such a tremendous amount of work, and a shout out to Liz Holpe, who really assisted in compiling it all together as well. But just the sharing from chefs around the world and our industry professionals, bringing it together and really looking at alternatives and being able to shift the thinking and with your food choices when you're creating your magnificent programs. So, and a shout out as well to Clee of Iconic Wineries. They partnered with us, and we shared organic wines. So we paired with the organic wines. And so it's just a magnificent piece. We'd love to keep it going. If you'd like to contribute as well, let us know. We'd like to expand this further. And one other piece too that we did is an RFP sustainability checklist. We were asking our members how could we assist and guide them, and what would be a useful tool. So we compiled a very extensive RFP checklist, and we will share that with you after. It aligns again with the SDGs, and we've had some great, actually some case studies that people have been using, meeting and incentive professionals have been using for programs. And so we hope to really be able to get more success stories and share that as well. So yeah, so those are two that really wanted to highlight. And so with further ado, now I'd like to actually present our first amazing speaker who has been so busy with speaking engagements everywhere at industry forums and conferences. We're thrilled to have her join us. Virginie de Visscher, who's Senior Director of Business Development for Destination Canada Business Events. Virginie is an innovative thinker with a highly collaborative approach. She has extensive experience in business development, international operations, and humanitarian aid, from leading international trade missions to managing coffee and cocoa operations in East Africa. Virginie is a biosystems engineer by trade. She has received a wide range of certifications, including her Sustainability Excellence Associate designation from the International Society of Sustainability Professionals and Certified International Trade Profession designation through the Forum of International Training. Please join me in welcoming Virginie. Over to you, Virginie.
Thanks, Liz, for that introduction. Wow. I'm so pleased to be here. Hello, bonjour, everyone. And I will ask if my slides could come up magically. That would be wonderful. And I'm here to tell you about our journey as a country in regards to our business events sustainability plan. So how did this all start? And that's our next slide. Well, it starts with the client. It starts with the people that are actually wanting to host events. And they shared widely and loudly that they wanted to be more sustainable. And so we needed to be part of the solution as the suppliers on our side. But how could we do that? How can we bring solutions to our clients to enable them to be more sustainability overall? And with the return of in-person meetings post-pandemic, it's really a must. So moving on to the next slide, what is sustainability? Let's get that definition cleared up. It really is, how do we meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of those future generations to meet theirs? But when you take that definition down to events, it really means taking action towards preserving our natural environment, but at the same time, promoting a healthy and inclusive society, as well as supporting our thriving economy. So it's a step towards the journey of being a regenerative tourism economy and ecosystem, which I'll dive into later. So once our clients told us that they needed some solutions, I went back and looked, what do we have in Canada? Next slide, please. And what did I see? Well, Canada has a federal sustainable development strategy. It has a Canadian Net Zero Emissions Accountability Act that says we will be net zero by 2050. It's aligned with the UN SDGs, but I really looked at what the solutions were all across our different destinations. And what I found is that we were all over the map. We had destinations that were doing amazing, fabulous things, and then others that were at baby steps at the beginning of their journey. So we needed to be part of that solution. How could we bring sustainability across the entire country and to ones that were at all different stages? Moving on, the business events perspective, developing that sustainability plan just wasn't an option anymore, especially in our industry. If we didn't want everything to just go virtual and be shut down by environmentalists, we needed to be creative and really address it head on because the clients were asking us. So moving on, the pillars of sustainability that we're considering, it's not just the environmental perspective, and I want to be really clear on this one. It's all three pillars. So we look at environmental, we look at the socio-cultural, as well as the economic sustainability point. And when they all meet, it's what we really call sustainable tourism. Now, that's just maintaining and doing good, but what we want is the next step. How can we bring back to our communities and our ecosystems? And that's really reversing the balance and going towards a more regenerative ecosystem. So let's start with just doing some good before we can even bring it back. So what are we doing about it? Well, we launched last year a national business event sustainability plan. But what really does that mean? This plan is aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It's rolled out through all of our cities across Canada, but it's meant to accelerate the industry's progress towards net zero. On our next slide, you'll see that it's got a lot of actions, but I'll break it down for you. At the end of the day, the entire plan is meant to bring our industry together, to bring turnkey sustainable business event solutions to our clients. So how are we doing this? What does it mean? We have a 3-step approach. So on the next slide, you'll see that step number 1 is getting our Team Canada partners to speak the same language. When someone's uncomfortable speaking about sustainability, it's hard to get the message across. If someone doesn't know the difference between net zero or carbon neutral or all the different terms that are going around, how do you even start talking about your destinations to clients? How do you share that message if yourself don't necessarily know? So we thought, first step, get that language out, educate our partners, and make everyone comfortable to raise their voice and speak up and be able to relay that story. We're in the middle now of different workshops that we started back in December, and really getting that language across and that education. We also needed our destinations to create a dream team. So all of them had to identify who was going to be their sustainability champion, who was going to lead it from their destinations. And for some, that was really hard, because they had no one in place. Other destinations that were further ahead already had an individual, but for others, they had to find one and then build their team. So you're creating that change. Not always comfortable, but it had to be done. So now that we have these dream teams and they're now being educated, what's going to be the second phase of our plan? The second phase is doing a destination assessment study. We chose to use, there's many tools out there, but we chose to use the Global Destination Sustainability Index. This index is a benchmarking tool. So it's not a certification. It's really to set a baseline to understand where are we at, so that then we can measure progress. Only when you know where you're at can you start moving forward. And so this GDS index is really aligned, as you will see the little colorful icons at the bottom, with the UN sustainability, the UN SDGs. So it will measure 71 criteria looking at 4 different buckets. The first one is looking at your city's environmental performance. And the second is the city's social performance. It's important to include the city because when delegates and people come, visitors to the destination, they experience the destination. They see if there's homelessness in the streets. They see how they can move around in the destination, or using electric vehicles or trains or what's available. They'll see the air quality, they'll feel it. So all of that's very important. The third bucket is really looking at the business event supply chain. What are hotels doing? Airports, restaurants, venues, all of that the business events industry supply chain really works with. And finally, it's the governance side. So from the destination management organization and the marketing organization, the CVB, what are they doing in regards to governance within the destination to assess sustainability? So all of our destinations will go through this exercise. What's interesting is when we launched this, I had a target of getting 12 destinations to come on with us on this. We actually have 16 destinations across Canada from coast to coast to coast that have signed up and that are taking part into this exercise, which is really fabulous. So once they'll have done that, what's next? We're looking at the long term. And once every destination will have an inventory of all those stories and initiatives that are happening in their destination from an environmental, sociocultural, and economic perspective, they'll have all that gathered. How do they tell that story? How do they transform it into storytelling, shouted on the rooftops, mountaintops in Canada, and contributing to that more stronger and resilient business events and tourism industry? We don't actually call it a competitive advantage. We really focus on calling it a collaborative advantage, because sustainability belongs to all. And what we hope is that this plan can be emulated by different destinations around the world, or by different organizations. If they come and meet in Canada and have a wonderful sustainable experience, let's hope that they take it and replicate it in another destination, or challenge that other destination to say, hey, we had some really cool stuff there in Canada. How can we do it in your destination too? Or vice versa. We're very eager to learn. So that's why I really stress that it's not a competitive advantage, it's a collaborative advantage. And this webinar, the fact that I'm speaking next to Rory in Scotland, is just fabulous, because we're sharing best practices, sharing what we're doing. I talk a lot with Singapore, with Sydney, Australia, with Washington, DC, about how can we elevate everyone on this. And that's how we make this work. It's really that collaboration, that sharing of best practices. There was an amazing aha moment in one of our workshops when we had those 16 destinations and all of their teams that were on and started talking with each other. Hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And really sharing that information is how we can really bring solutions to our clients. Now, let me share with you a few of the stories that we've learned and some case studies along the way. So the first one is not just, doing this and sharing it with our partners. It's how do we as an organization in Destination Canada ourselves, how do we walk the talk? And we host a few signature events of our own. And we have the ambitious goal of being carbon neutral. And so Innovate Canada, one of those signature events, will be carbon neutral this year. So what did we do? We took our own learnings, aligned ourselves with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and started that journey. We looked for this event, rather small event, but still, every aspect of the journey. So for example, we looked at transportation from the airport to the destination. Can we use electric vehicles? We looked at the venue choice. We looked at our food and beverage. How do we eliminate certain things from our decor, from the menu to make it more sustainable? How do we eliminated plastic? We're creating a swag market instead of a room drop so people can choose really what they want instead of discarding it, leaving it in their room. It's locally, sustainably sourced meals. It's asking our attendees, if they can, that for anything under 20 minutes to walk to wherever we're going. It's an app, it's no paper, and so forth. These are great stories, and we really are learning along the way. My meeting planner is going crazy, but I've actually put it on the agenda. At every meeting, we have a sustainability item, and that's how we move it forward. So that's our Innovate Canada journey. This event is happening in May. I look forward to reporting on it and see if we've achieved our goal and our learnings along the way. The next case study I wanted to share with you is, when you hear the word sustainability in the meetings and events industry world, most actually think of the environmental factor, but not a lot think of the cultural and social focus. And we're trying to really change that. So Canada has a grim legacy in regards to its Indigenous culture, but instead of erasing that past, travel and tourism have an important role on the path to reconciliation with our past. So let me introduce you to Matricia Bauer. She's the woman on this slide. She's a member of the Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation. She's also a survivor of the 60s scoop, which saw thousands of Indigenous children in Canada taken from their own families to be raised by non-Indigenous families. But this upbringing separated her from a heritage, but has also led her to reconnect in her own way in creating the company that she leads called Warrior Woman. This company, Warrior Woman, is based in Alberta, and it's an initiative that focuses on Indigenous education and engagement for all ages. They do school visits, guided experiences, workshops, fireside chats, plant walks in and around Jasper, and singing and drumming and teaching storytelling. Matricia uses the phrase often, indigenize the world one drumbeat at a time. So it's not about, we're not proud of that part of our history, but we're not going to hide it away. So we're bridging that gap. And Matricia speaks on how reconciliation and cultural sustainability can be incorporated into business events and incentive events. So for example, tours that are led by Indigenous peoples, workshops, locally crafted gifts, sharing circles led by an elder, or a welcome smudging ceremony can all be integrated into meetings and incentives. So cultural sustainability can be a very powerful, correct way if done well, right? And it gives people also economic reconciliation. It gives those Indigenous communities the resources to sustain themselves economically and decrease some of the disparities that are happening within that world. It gives them hope. So it's a powerful thing to be able to share that story. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront. And I have a final little case study, and that's another one of our incentive, signature events that focuses on the incentive segment. It just took place. It literally finished yesterday. It was Incentive Canada Winter held in Quebec City. And we actually used the TRACE program to track our carbon footprint and how we can make changes in future to lead to that carbon neutral program. We've partnered with hotels that have their own sustainability initiatives. So for example, the beautiful Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac that you see is part of a historic hotel, but it's one of the first ones to be fully carbon neutral in Canada. We've also given some of our attendees, or all of it attendees, a Chili Moose mug. It's a Canadian company, and they plant a tree for each mug that is gifted. So it's environmentally friendly, it's economically sustainable, and we now use this as gifts for all of our signature events. We're also sourcing other local Indigenous gifts and highlighting the cultural vibrancy and history of the French Canadian culture, the Quebecois culture, right? So how that culture is influencing our communities. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that was helpful. You know, this is all about sharing our journey with you. I'm happy to take questions, and the more the merrier in this journey. Thank you.
Virginie, that was fabulous. Thank you. That's so inspiring, and just so many takeaways from that. I was just writing my notes and just thank you so much. I mean, I got shivers down my spine just listening to all those great examples and being such incredible leaders at what Destination Canada is doing. I mean, these are such great examples, and I'm hoping everybody is taking away and learning from this. I mean, a couple of standouts. Patricia just sounds like an incredible, inspiring lady. The one drum beat at a time. You know, it's like with us, one step at a time. We're all working together. You know. But after we'll take some questions, because there are questions about what destinations we'd like to know in Canada that have come on board that you've inspired, which is incredible. And the swag market, love that, like that, love to hear more of that. Thank you. That was fabulous. So we'll have questions and answers afterwards, everybody. Thank you, Virginie. Now I'd like to introduce Miss Sarah Jane Anderson from Visit Scotland, the president of Scotland. Thank you. Over to you, Miss Sarah.
Thank you so much, Liz. Absolutely delighted to be here and representing Site Scotland as chapter president. Also, thank you to Giselle, fellow chapter president of Site Canada, for inviting Scotland to collaborate with them today. But first and foremost, Virginie, what a wonderful presentation you just gave there. It was so interesting to hear so many alignments with Scotland and with Site Scotland in particular. The collaboration that is going on here today is a huge focus for Site Scotland. We are just about to have our AGM on the 15th of March, and we're in the planning stages of that. And the focus of our year next year is very much on collaboration. And I think anyone who's on the call today can absolutely resonate with the year that we've just come through, and the fact that we're all still here. A lot of that has been down to the collaboration within the industry of our partners, and it has been such an amazing thing to experience, and such an important issue that we continue to do this. So, you know, as well as within our businesses, to have the opportunity for Site Scotland to collaborate with Site Canada on this was just fantastic. The theme of the call today, obviously being sustainability, was a perfect fit for us here at Scotland, because sustainability has really been at the very forefront of our agenda for the last few years now, not just at Site Scotland, but in Scotland as a whole. And you know, with the support of our members and with our National Tourist Board, Visit Scotland, which you're going to hear from the fabulous Rory just shortly, we've really worked so hard to keep this important area in everyone's consideration. As a chapter, you know, we've really got a responsibility when creating our chapter events, especially to minimise the impact on the environment, and to ensure that we are following the correct sustainability guidelines that the chapter has worked so hard to achieve. Now, when I say the chapter has worked so hard to achieve that, there are two people in particular in the chapter who have done that, and we're going to hear from one of them shortly. Olga Walker, who is the Managing Director of Good Cause Travel DMC, has worked exceptionally hard along with our colleague Gillian Ray, who is an account director at Spectra DMC in Scotland. And between the two of them, they really work so very hard for Sight Scotland to achieve a chapter accreditation. And most importantly, to ensure that we continue to keep those guidelines in place as we plan future events. I think we can all agree that sustainability is such an important topic, but also a very easy one to let slip from your agenda and from your list of priorities, particularly when things become so very busy in the summer months. And to have people on your board championing this area to make sure that you're constantly in alignment and delivering those goals and values for chapter members was so important. So important that we created a board role for this within Sight Scotland. And so that just leads me on then to introducing our board member who looks after sustainability for us. And as I said earlier, I'm going to now hand over to Olga Walker from Good Cause Travel, and Olga is going to just go over our accomplishments and have a chat to you a bit more about what Sight Scotland has been doing.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome, SJ, and thank you everybody for joining us here today to discuss the very important topic of sustainability in incentive travel, and to our two lovely presenters for sharing their case studies. It's very valuable insights for all of us. So if I could please have the first slide. Thank you. I would like to start by showing you our chapter's roadmap for sustainability 2022. This is a very useful tool the chapter has adopted from our journey for sustainability certification in 2021, as mentioned by SJ earlier. At the start of each year, we survey our members and ask for their evaluation of the chapter's sustainability actions from the previous year and their thoughts and preferences for the chapter's sustainability actions for the year ahead. These are then outlined in the shape of the roadmap for sustainability, with goals and smart objectives which act as milestones for us to achieve our goals. In 2022, we had 3 goals and accompanying objectives in the areas of, first, sustainable incentive product development, so engaging the members and sharing their best practices and promoting them via the chapter's social media. Second, sustainability education, so inviting 2 external speakers to present at the chapter's events. And third, CSR, fundraising for the chapter's chosen charity chairs through the chapter's events, engaging the members in Earth Day Wellbeing social media campaign when they had to walk, run or cycle to a local beauty spot in Scotland and submit a photo or a selfie with it, thus also promoting Scotland as a destination, and partnering with the chapter's chosen social enterprise, The Ladder, for one of the chapter's events. So if I could please have the next slide. This is our sustainability certificate from 2021, which is something that we're very proud of. And it was a very useful process to go through as a chapter, and we highly recommend it to all the chapters which are not yet certified, as a very good set of tools to adopt as a chapter and also for respective businesses. And if I could have the next slide, please. And now I would like to say a few words about our chapter's latest CSR event in partnership with the Ladder charity. The Ladder charity empowers young people from disadvantaged backgrounds in Scotland through offering them various training programs in employability, life skills, work experience, and well-being. They also run social food projects. They believe in power of learning and food to create change for individuals and community. We at Sight Scotland decided to join the above pledge and invited 14 young people, trainees from the Ladder, to join us for the chapter's kick-off event on the 31st of January. The event took place at the iconic Edinburgh Castle, and we offered the young people valuable training time with various members of the castle's events team, from chef to operations. Then we organized a bake-off style competition between the chapter's members in decorating the cupcakes baked by the Ladder. Each team had to come up with a creative theme and then present their creations to the panel of judges from the ladder. The young people were helping the members to unlock our creativity, and then they decided which team won. We all found that this was a great bonding and meaningful activity for both sides, who were equal in co-creating contributors to the event. The great thing about the event was that there was no hierarchy. Both sides equally benefited from the partnership, which is the most organic way to connect communities and events. So now we would like to carry on with the pledge of connecting with the local communities through our chapter's events and contributing to positive social change. We also make sure that our events are environmentally sustainable. To achieve this, we closely work with the venues hosting the chapter's events. We provide them with environmental sustainability checklists, monitoring their carbon emissions, waste management, energy and water consumption, as well as procurement management. We try to reduce carbon footprint of our events by encouraging car sharing or public transportation to our events, as well as increasing the percentage of plant-based menus. And we try to incorporate well-being components to the chapter's events. We've had talks on nutrition and foraging with planted native trees and wildflowers, as well as organized walking and running challenges. Connection with nature is an important part of our well-being, which is vital in the current climate emergency and in our hectic events industry too. In 2021, during the chapter's sustainability certification process, we learned how to use SMPP system, which is Sustainability Monitoring Framework for Events. It is applied to the 3 stages of event planning, pre, during, and post, and relies a lot on active engagement of all the event stakeholders in the process. We monitored the chapter's summer event 2021 with SMPP and scored the impressive 73% for sustainability. The areas for improvement were highlighted in the events report, and we would like to carry on applying this framework to one of the chapter's events every year, ideally our summer event, to measure our year-on-year sustainability progress. So these are, in a nutshell, our chapter's sustainability highlights. At the moment, we are in the process of surveying the members for 2022 feedback and 2023 preferences. Then we will collate them in sustainability roadmap, which will be presented at our AGM on the 15th of March. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to take them. And now I am very pleased to introduce you to our next speaker, Rory Archibald from Visit Scotland. Rory leads the associations, sectors and marketing teams at Visit Scotland business events. Since joining Visit Scotland in 2015, Rory has overseen the expansion of the association team and remit within Scotland, introduced the organisation's industry first campaigns, Legends and Journey to Change, and driven redefining business events as a tool for social sustainability and positive change. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on the word now to Rory.
Thank you very much, Olga, and hello everyone, live from Edinburgh. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I know look a little bit formal for a webinar, but the camera is not showing you. I am currently in a full kilt as I'm shooting out to an industry awards dinner straight after this. But it's my pleasure and delight to talk to you today and to share some of what Scotland is doing for sustainability. We're going to talk a little bit about our Journey to Change campaign, which we launched back in 2020, which kind of takes a little bit more of the social aspect of sustainability, as we firmly believe that unless we give a quality of life to everybody on this planet, we have no hope in order to combat the climate crisis. Now, I think we can all agree that business events have changed. I think the business events started changing before the pandemic. Back in 2019, we surveyed clients from associations, incentives and corporates throughout Europe, North America and the United Kingdom. And we came with some interesting conclusions. And that was that our clients, when they looked at a destination, wanted a destination that addressed major international issues like climate change and sustainability. They wanted a destination that was inclusive to all races, faiths, genders, and sexualities. And they wanted a destination where social mobility, social inclusion, and education, fairness of opportunity were all present. And interestingly, we always think about legacy when we talk about the association side. And we're really trying to push legacy within the incentive side in Scotland. And we're trying to actually transition from using the word legacy to using the word transformation. It's a word that's recognised by our government. It's a word terminology used by the United Nations, and it gives a real positivity on what potential that business events have. So in Scotland, we believe that when you bring some of the world's greatest minds together, some of the industry's greatest teams together for team building, for knowledge sharing, we're creating a platform for social and economic progress. It's not just about the money that is brought into Scotland from hosting a variety of events. It's about what social impact can have in our local communities. We believe that when we bring people together, we create a spotlight for tackling global challenges. COP26, which was the largest business event ever held in the UK, was back in 2021. And that's just a perfect example of how when you bring people together, you can make progress for some of the world's greatest challenges. And we also provide a voice for human rights. Every single event that comes into Scotland, to Canada, to anywhere in the world has a potential to get behind some of those voices which are less heard in society and use that event to make a positive difference. Sustainability, environmental sustainability, social sustainability are huge challenges, but by taking small steps, we can make a real difference. And I think we'll be surprised on how a small step can suddenly lead into a massive run. So we have involved this in our messaging for Scotland. We have our leisure team within Visit Scotland who shout about all of our wonderful cultural examples, and I'm wearing one right now. Whereas the business events team, we're showcasing what these events can do for our society. Driving force for change can start in Scotland. Scotland's a platform for global solutions. We're putting people, human and ecological well-being first, and we're changing tomorrow by meeting today. Now, you can take those and apply them to any destination in the world if you have the will and the want in order to do that. So Journey to Change became not just a campaign for us. It actually influenced the entire way of working. So our transformation or legacy piece through to our internal strategies, our sustainability cause, how we operate as a department and an organisation, and the messages that we put out there for Scotland. We are trying to project, influence who we are, or to be probably more accurate, who we want to be as a nation, as a people, as a world, as humanity. We're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And Virginie really touched on it wonderfully, where we are here as a collaboration. We need to knowledge share. We need to share our mistakes, where we can learn from, and we need to showcase some of our best practice. Now, don't adjust your sets. This is actually Scotland. We do not always have rain 12 months of the year. Actually, it's a myth. It's a legend. We've got wonderful scenery and wonderful sunshine all the time, I promise you. But when we look at sustainability, and just like what Virginie said, it involves everything from environmental sustainability to looking at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, diversity, equity, inclusion, social sustainability. And we firmly believe that business events, incentives, corporates, associations have that potential to influence every aspect of sustainability in general. Now, last year, we launched something called the Transformation Protocol, which is a network of just over 30 organisations which are located throughout Scotland. Now, this is a complete mix of academia through to private industry and through to social enterprises. We've gone out to meet them. We've got them to tell them who we are, what business events are, and what the potential is that when an event comes to Scotland to engage with them. So it means if we have a food and drink incentive coming in, we can showcase Scotland Food and Drink, one of our innovation centres, to work with them to create a sustainable programme for the incentive to go out into Scotland to see some of the most sustainable examples of food and drink production. We have some of our academics, such as the Scottish AI Alliance, the Data Lab. So when our company comes in that maybe specialises in any of these different subject matters, they can get engaged, involved, and go out to our local communities and academics, get our students involved, get young people involved in different industries, look at gender equality within industries, and put that as part of an educational programme. Now, this fine gentleman is Paul Stewart. And now he works for an organisation called Invisible Cities. And they're an organisation who take people who have experienced homelessness, they educate them on how to be tour guides, and then they send them out to tell their story of our cities. Now, they started in Edinburgh, they operate across Scotland, they operate across England and now in Wales, and they're looking to expand into Europe. Now, Paul, this gentleman right here, he's experienced homelessness 10 times in his life. So he sees the city with a different eye. He had a dad who was an alcoholic. He had only 2 years of high school. He had no stable background and suffered from abuse and neglect throughout his childhood. Invisible Cities have given him an entirely new lease of life. The team at Visit Scotland, when we had a particular incentive in 2022 with delegates from the US, Singapore, and the rest of the UK, they went out to educate. They went out to tell the story of Invisible Cities. And they ended up 90 of those delegates booking tours with that organisation. Now, by spending that money with Invisible Cities, that event directly helped take people off the streets into accommodation, providing them with bank accounts, food and drink, and giving them some hope and giving them a future. And that is the real power of business events. We absolutely love showcasing our culture. We love showcasing who Scottish people are, our music, our drink, that naughty wee scamp, the haggis. But at the very core, this is about changing humanity and doing something good. I firmly believe personally, and this is maybe taking my Visit Scotland hat off, that if we don't progress and if we don't change and if we don't embrace social sustainability, then we put the future of our industry at risk. If we don't embrace environmental sustainability, we put the future of our industry at risk. This isn't a nice to have, this is a must have. And if we don't follow through, we run the risk of falling behind. Across Scotland, there are some incredible initiatives taking place. Glasgow is number 6 on the Global Destination Sustainability Index, which Virginie mentioned previously. And they've been on that index for a number of years now and helping to influence the rest of Scotland on their sustainability efforts. Green Meetings is run by an organisation called Green Tourism, which is the largest and most established certification for sustainability in the world for tourism industry. And they launched Green Meetings in Edinburgh just a couple of years ago, and it was one of the only accreditations specifically for the meetings industry. And then if we look at our government alignment, we are a government agency. Scotland has ambition to become completely net zero by 2045, which is 5 years before the rest of the UK government. If we look at the cities that are all around Scotland, each of their individual councils have their own ambitions. If we look through to the EICC in Edinburgh, they have ambitions to be net zero by 2030. And if we look at P&J Live, the middle one, that incredible building, which is in Aberdeen, they have the highest environmental standard possible by an organisation called BREEAM, which is the leading science-based suite of validation and certification systems for the sustainable environment. Now, I did have to read that one because that's a rather long description of that organisation. Glasgow was the first convention bureau in the world to sign Tourism Declares, and Visit Scotland was the first destination marketing organisation in the world to sign up to Tourism Declares. And that's an organisation which exists to enable everyone in the tourism industry to implement climate action and to halve our emissions as an industry by 2030. Now, I'm going to echo exactly with what Virginie said. This is about collaboration. Now, as you can see, these fine gentlemen on more extravagant kilts than the one I'm currently wearing, they're working together to achieve an aim. We all need to collaborate, regardless of competition, regardless of different destinations, different organizations. If we don't all get to exactly the same standard, then we're not going to achieve combating the climate crisis and raising the living standards for people throughout the world. Now, I always pop these little guys in because I'm very proud of them. Mirren is my niece and she's 6. Sam is my godson and he is now 11. So that was a picture from a couple of years ago. Now, I've mentioned that we do this in order for the survival industry. It's the right thing to do. I do this because I want to make sure that my niece and my godson have the same opportunities that I had as a child, if not better. We need to ensure that the future generations do not suffer because of the decisions that we make today. And this industry has an opportunity to lead by example across the world. We invite people from all different parts of the planet to our destinations, to our organizations, to our venues, to our hotels. And that is a real opportunity. That's a real unique opportunity to educate, to influence, and to learn. We can learn from them and we can send them across the world to be inspired to take action, not just talk, but to take action on sustainability and the climate crisis. There's other things that take place across Scotland, which I don't have time to tell you. Olga already mentioned the partnership that they have with the Larder, which provides training, employability, life skills, health and well-being, all along the side of teaching people to cook. They have cafes and training facilities to create work experience, and they've got programs to respond to food insecurity and poverty within Scotland. We work with an organisation called the Green Team, which take children out to educate them about sustainability, to educate them about the natural environment. And we work with them in order to take incentives out to do exactly the same thing. That helps their funding, it helps them reach more children, and it helps our incentives that come over to Scotland to go out and not just see it from a car, not just see it from a tour bus, but to go out into the wilderness and to educate themselves. We also are partnering with an organisation, which I'm terrible at pronouncing, so forgive me, my Scottish colleagues who are on this call, Serenians, which is a homeless charity, and they work across Scotland, and we're looking to partner with them to see how we can take incentive groups to work on their farms that they have to provide food, how they can outreach in their food share hubs, and really provide that community connection when people come to Scotland, as well as experiencing our incredible cultural identity. So thank you very much. We firmly believe that Scotland is the place where the journey to change starts, but we also firmly believe that business events and incentives is where the journey to change starts for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rory, for a very inspiring presentation. And indeed, sustainability, all the pillars of sustainability need to become the new hygiene factor, as I like to call it, for everybody who calls themselves an event professional to consider when we plan our events. And now I have got a pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, Mary Pepe from MEP and Associates. And Mary is the chair of the Site Global Sustainability Committee. And she's going to say a few words about the overview of the Global Committee and its future goals, as well as sustainability certifications. Please welcome Mary. Mary?
I'm here. I was here. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, or good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all, and thank you very much for attending. I had a whole speech planned, and after listening to everyone, I may just have to ad lib in some areas, because this is truly an awesome experience for all, and the collaboration that Site Canada and Site Scotland have created here speaks so much to the importance of sustainability globally, plus the fact that there are so many attendees. We recognize how important and impactful we can be to the world of sustainability. I'd like to first welcome you. I sit in the city of Toronto, and I acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And from that, we have various nations across Toronto, of course, and across Canada. And we recognize that we are custodians of the land, and want to continue with that mandate that we are custodians of the land, and sustainability just proves to us that we need to take care of the land for our future peoples. I am really honored to chair the 2023 Site Global Committee, a role that I take very seriously, and hope that as the committee itself will be able to make inroads into helping, guiding, aiding, mentoring the site community with sustainability areas, so that we can create a DNA, if you will, in our event design to support what we need to support from a sustainability climate change perspective. We have quite a few goals that we have created this year for our committee, and I just want to share with you a few of them. I won't get into the weeds because obviously, as you know, in any strategic plan, there's a lot of information, but just want to give you some high level idea of where we're going and what we'd like to do. I think before you saw that there were the certifications from Site Canada and Site Scotland. They were in Site Canada was certified in 2020 and Site Scotland in 2021. We have certified 19 of our 26 chapters to date, which is an amazing feat considering that this was during the COVID years. We have 7 chapters left, and our teams are prepared to work with them very closely so that we can achieve all chapters certified by the end of 2023. Along with that, we will be developing and implementing a benchmark, if you will, so that there is a continuation of the certification that will be relatively easy to continue along the lines of the sustainability areas that can be implemented again in the strategic design of their events. And we're looking at simplifying this and making it, I will quote unquote, uncomplicated. We also are really excited, and I know I'm not saying excited, but we are very excited that this year we will have a site sustainability page on the Site Global website. And also we will have presence online on social media that will include LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, when you see these or you get an invitation, please join our community so that we can continue spreading the word. Another area that's very important, and it was touched upon earlier, is around the measuring tools for the carbon footprint or the greenhouse gas emissions. Our committee is committed to find a tool that is intuitive, easy, effective, of course, that will help our community site members to measure their footprint for their events, and something that can continue on over the years when remeasuring and seeing and acting as a benchmark, of course, for continuation. That should be coming out probably later in the year, as we've got many we'd like to see. Of course, we're going to be working with the GSTC, as has been already mentioned during this webinar. Another area that we are working on, and with some success, is the young leader presence on the committee. We are lucky that we have a young leader, and Maria, I think you're out there. I just want to say hello to Maria. She's from Premio in Costa Rica. and we welcome young leaders to join our committee. As we all know, young leaders are the future of this association of our industry, so we welcome them with open arms. We also welcome older leaders if they wish to join us. We want to ensure that we have passionate people on our committee so that we can move forward and make site association a leading voice in this movement. And I refer to it as a movement because site sustainability is a movement that is something that is critical to today's world and must keep and remain top of mind as we move forward, either socially, environmentally, or through business, or personally, of course. Also, we had mentioned, I think Rory had mentioned about, I will use a colloquial term, practice what you preach. We're looking at creating some standard practices around event design to share with you some areas of sustainability that can be implemented into your programs that along the lines of the swag that we had talked about. And of course, we always hear the same thing about the plastics and food waste, etc. So that is another one of our targets this year. And you know, as we move forward with our website, we hope to be able to post that on the website so that you will all have access to it. The other area that I wish to talk about, and I'm sorry, I've got so many things going on in my brain right now because of these wonderful conversations. I wanted to share with you a line from the Glasgow Declaration from the UNTO, which speaks to our committee. And I'm just going to read it to you because it really encapsulates what we want to achieve and how we feel about sustainability. And it reads, rebalancing our relationship with nature is critical to regenerating both the ecological health and our personal, social, and economic well-being. This is something that we carry forward with in all our communications. And we hope that you have the passion that we have to join us to continue with this, well, I will refer to as our MO, our modus operandi. When I leave, you will see a slide that will share with you what I refer to, or we refer to as our MVP statements, our mission, vision, and purpose statements. I'm very proud to say that we created these this year, and Site Global is currently reviewing them, and we hope to be able to publicize them on our platforms once we have them. And they speak very much to who we are, what we are, and what we wish to do. And on that, I'm going to say thank you very much. I just have one last call to action, and that is to please remember Earth Day, April 22nd, which we will be celebrating April 21st. We hope that you will somehow engage on Earth Day, be it planting a tree, or in the warmer climates, starting your garden, or engaging in a CSR event. If you have any ideas, please share them with us. Or if you need ideas, please contact us. Be happy to help you. And on that note, I wish to say thank you very much for all your time and for staying on with so much information. I hope you have a lot of good information that you're taking back with you. We are all just an email or a call away. Please don't hesitate to contact us. And lastly, I personally wish to thank Liz and Olga. This was born out of a conversation in December by the Site Global Committee, and Liz ran with it. And Olga then became involved, and this is what they created. And it was, I think, a great success. And I hope we see more of these. We certainly will be working on 2 or 3 more webinars this year. And we hope that you can all attend, and more importantly, that you can all interact and share your ideas with us. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing more of you or hearing from more of you in the future. And again, remember, we are the custodians. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Well, we've reached the end of our presentations, I think, and my table has decided to collapse on me, as you do. Okay, Liz, over to you. I'm going to mute myself.
That
put my
was
table out.
fabulous. Just so much wonderful information being shared here, the resources, the group that has come together today. It's just been so inspiring. So what, thank you again to everybody. And I know there's been a few questions come through on the box, if there's any more that want to come through. But first off, I know there was a question to Virginie about, can you name the 16 destinations that have joined the Destination Canada with their sustainability
Yes,
plans?
16 destinations. We will announce them in a press release that's coming out
Okay.
in March, but there is representation from all across Canada and some major cities and smaller cities, of course. But it's a great representation across the board.
Well, congratulations on achieving that, and that was your goal. And wow, you've just done absolute wonders.
I think there was another question as well in regards
about
to carriers.
Air, yeah. So, to what extent are air carriers involved in national business event and sustainability strategies in Canada? Is collaboration taking place at that level? Can you kindly answer that, Virginie?
So right now our plan is focused on destinations, and those are the first ones that we're working with. That said, our national carriers are totally part of the solution. So we work very closely with Air Canada and WestJet as an example, and they themselves has very strong ESG targets that they're going for. So it is a true collaboration, but the plan right now is focused on the destinations. So we'll see where phase 2 takes us.
Thank you. Yeah, I wonder for future if there might be an airline one that will come together as well, perhaps a collaboration. That'll be interesting to see.
And there was another question in regards to how to access the Canadian Business and Sustainability Plan. So we have only done press releases so far. We are developing a public-facing document to explain the plan that we can start sharing broadly to everyone, as well as a place on our website. So stay tuned, those are coming very shortly.
Very good. Very good. And I know there were some questions about our plant-based cookbook. We'll be sharing that in follow-up, as well as the RFP checklist. We'll be sending that as our follow-up and a survey from this webinar as well. We welcome all feedback, and Olga and I'll be planning future webinars as well with various chapters in site with site globally. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we value your feedback. Any other questions at all? Right, I think we've covered them here, right, Olga? Do you see any?
I think we've covered all of the questions.
Yeah, so much great information. This has been fabulous. Thank you. If there aren't any other questions, I think we will conclude. I think this has been just so packed with great information. And here's our mission, vision, purpose for Site Global as well. And you'll be seeing more of this. This will be out there on social media, and more to come on this. And thank you again to our speaker, Virginie and Rory. That was fantastic. Just so much great information. And thank you again for taking time with us, everybody. This was fabulous.